When I was a young guy, I'm talking about, I think 6, 7 years old, my godmother and my godfather, they had a son. And his son was a postman. And I thought, wow, this is really fantastic. So he's free, he walks on the streets, and he could go inside in the houses to get a drink in the stocking. And at the same moment, I got from my father a kind of a box, chemistry #1 and chemistry #2. And I made a small laboratorium in the basement. And I liked the idea of experimenting, researching things. Well, that's what I'm doing today. I'm still bringing, let us say, my mail to the outside world, and I'm systematically still choose for the experiment. There were 2 options in my life. You know, when I was young, I was a small gangster, because I came from a very poor neighborhood. I was breaking into houses. When I was 15, 16, I was breaking inside in villas. I was arrested a couple of times. I liked the idea of the risk and the tension. Luckily, I went to the Royal Academy. I met other people, and I chose for art and for beauty. And there was always this kind of sympathy for gangsters. And why Mesrine, in the late 70s, when I was a young artist, he was for me a kind of, almost a kind of consciousness of the French subversivity, of the French, he was daring to attack the French state. And I liked also the idea that he was always cleverer than the system. So for me, he was a kind of an escape artist. I liked it also, the idea. I remember scenes when I was a young guy, when I read the newspapers, when he robbed the bank, and then he came outside himself dressed as a hairdresser and asking to the people like, oh, what's happening? This metamorphosing, this disguising. So, and this was also a theme of the performance I did in the Louvre. The idea of metamorphosing, the idea of escaping the system. And that's also the theme in one of the theme of the gallery show, I don't know, Do with Daniel Templan. Yeah. For example, I collected for the work in the Royal Palace, the Heaven of Delight. I collected for 3 years. I sent people to restaurants in Malaysia, Indonesia, Congo, because they eat them like we eat mule. You know, insects are very protein, so and they have to break down the scarapace and they throw it away. So I collected for a very long time. And of course, because I'm an amateur entomologist, I know a lot of contacts worldwide to buy them, to exchange them. I think beauty. For me, beauty is an incredible force, an incredible spiritual force. You know, beauty you can find everywhere. It can be a small bird on a rooftop, but it can also be the sun that falls into a church. I mean, and for me, pure physically, to keep myself spiritually healthy, I do already 70 years kendo. And so this for me a kind of to keep myself sane, mentally and physically. Yeah. I think it's like a butterfly. When you touch it, you destroy it. I mean, beauty for me, in my work, it's a kind of interwoven between aesthetical principles and ethical principles. Because when beauty would be only aesthetics, it would be makeup. I believe in the model of Christ. For me, the model of Christ is even important in my work. I think the model of Christ is important. To accept the model of Christ, you can create other models. I mean, I made a lot of sculptures, let us say, who goes away from the stigmatas about this, because we are still in the West think philosophically and mentally, physically with the stigmatas. And I created a lot of works, let us say, to create a kind of new model, the moment you accept this new model, you go away from the stigmatas, and there's a kind of new thinking, a new philosophy starts. And I visit often churches to contemplate about beauty, because in a lot of churches you have incredible masterpieces. And also, when I was working a lot in Poland in the beginning of the 80s with artists, with composers, they always took me to the church, because this was, under the communistic system, the only place where they could talk freely. I started respecting a lot the church again in the 80s by being in this communistic system. But my mother was raised Catholic, but my mother gave me this 30 years ago already. I wear it now 35 years. And my mother was very Catholic, and she gave me this owl. And before I left to New York, and the owl represents the symbol of not overestimating yourself and being humble. I'm a collector of drawings. I have, and Belgian drawings. I have drawings from René Magritte, James Ensor, Félicien Robs, Meunier, from Luc Tuymans. So because I change a lot with friends, from Panamermenko, Thierry de Cordier. So I collect only Belgian drawings, because I like, for me the drawing is the essence of an artist, is inside. I have always posters from Jan van Eyck and van Jeroen Bosch on the wall, because I steal a lot from these artists. I like the drawings from Félicien Robs. He was a very specific artist. You know, he was in contact with a lot of French writers. Huh? And he was living together with two women also. I like his, you know, I like his imagination, his subversivity in his work, his physical relationship towards the human body. Félicien Robs is for me a type, a very Belgian artist. He's this imagination who is, you cannot steer this imagination. This imagination goes all ways, you know. It's a big difference with the Dutch art. I mean, it's always this research also for me, Félicien Robs is this research with the skeleton, it is kind of post-mortem stadium of life, the naked body, the flesh. It's always this research almost between the flesh and the skeleton, between the future and the past. Huh? It's a very inspiring artist for me today, still, very poetical and very free spirit. Oh, it's because I like to do things manual. I still like to write things and scratch. For me, scratching is drawing. And also, to be honest, all these curators who work with computer, when I meet them, they're for me usually very disappointed. I like this old generation from curators like Jan Hoets, Harold Zeeman, Rudy Fuchs, Germane Solant. There's people with charisma and with a lot of physicality. Plus all these young curators on the computer, they make 100 exhibitions in 1 month. I don't believe in this. I'm a contemporary mystic.